It's part 4 of our conversation with Greg Godovitz. I'm John Beaudin from Rock History Canada. Greg has done so much for Canadian music, and he knows so many international artists. It's amazing the stories he tells. He wrote these 2 books. We'll have links in the description where you can pick them up. It's amazing his history in music, being an early member of the band Fludd. Then, of course, his solo stuff and Goddo. Here's our conversation with Greg Godovitz.
Yeah.
When I was getting into radio, I got into radio in 83. And I did actually recorded a lot of my interviews on this very machine. I know it's weird, synchronistic. I would come back. I remember hearing the term from a lot of Canadian artists, you can go gold and ride the bus in Canada. Ian Thomas, I think, was the first guy who told me that. And I remember, going, what do you mean? This is crazy. And I thought they must be talking about the first deal then, you know, that notorious first deal. Whereas you put in your book, get a lawyer, get an entertainment lawyer. But I remember going, the Canadian music industry is a little different, you know, in some ways than the US. For you, in the mid-70s, starting this new band, you know, that was not your direction in that last band. You went, well, I want to create something over here. What was it like for you?
Well, I love being in Fludd because we had all those hit records, you know, when we were kids, you know. I mean, I was only 19 when Turn 21 came out. And then, you know, we traveled to England and we went to, you know, San Francisco and recorded there. And I mean, it was wonderful for a kid to be doing that stuff. But I was writing, you know, Chantel that appeared on the third Goddo album and Cock On that was on Who Cares. I'd written those songs when I was in fact, Cock On is about Fludd, you know, and we learned it, but they wouldn't record it. They wouldn't play it live. And I think my mother was talking to the late, great Brian Pilling one day and said to him, you know, Gregory's writing some pretty good songs. And he said, you know, with all due respect, Mrs. Godovitz, Fludd is my band. And, you know, him and Ed had they had the monopoly on the songwriting. And that's when I quit because I realized I was writing good songs, but they were never going to get heard. So then I became the main songwriter, and 300 songs later, you know, I mean, you know, wow, great. So, but it's funny, you mentioned that quote from Ian Thomas. Denise Donlin, who's got that great book, an Order of Canada recipient, was over here last week. And she gave me a copy of the book and she apologized to me. She goes, I attributed one of your quotes to Kim Mitchell. So which one? Paraphrasing, I'd said, only in Canada can you play Maple Leaf Gardens, get 2 encores, and go home on the bus. So that quote was actually mine.
No kidding.
And a lot of people have used it. And she apologized, but it wasn't the same kind of quote anyway to what I actually said. But it's true. I mean, I went to play Maple Leaf Gardens with a Pretty Bad Boy was with me because he was going to play that night with us. And we went on the subway. I had my bag of clothes. And of course, there's all people on the going, what are you doing? And I said, I'm going to the Gardens. We're playing at the Gardens. Why aren't you in a limousine? I said, because I don't do that. I don't like that. I'd prefer to go on the subway.
Oh, the Pilling brothers. Like, I was such a fan. I played Cousin Mary for my mom. She said, well, who are you interviewing tomorrow? And I told her, and I played some of the first Goddo album for her. And she says, oh, I don't remember that, but it's really catchy, she said. That wasn't her thing, of course, right?
Yeah.
But, you know, Cousin Mary, she stopped and she said, oh my God, that's like, and we're going to segue from that to Michel Pagliaro, because I always felt that had a sort of a slight kind of, I don't know, there's a feel of early Canadian awesomeness in both those songs. But Cousin Mary, what was your first impression? But like when you guys, they wrote that one, right?
Oh yeah, they wrote all the songs.
Yeah,
we knew it was a hit the minute we rehearsed it. I mean, that's going to be our next single, and it was the biggest record that Fludd had. I mean, it was top 10 for a long time, and still today. I mean, I hear it all the time on oldies radio. I mean, yeah. I think it's up to like a couple 100,000 airplays now. You know,
mm-hmm.
So I mean, we had with Fludd, we had 8 top 10 hits. So everything that the Pillings wrote just had that sound for the radio, you know. Plus, it was a dynamic looking band. I mean, we were all young and slender, and we could wear makeup and get away with it, wear ballet slippers on stage and get away with it.
How was it left with you and Brian? How was it? I know we lost him, but I mean, what was it? What was your relationship like when he passed?
Oh, I was devastated when he died. I mean, I was on stage the night he died, and I got a call saying, if you want to see your friend, you better come now. So we had two sets at this place up in Richmond Hill called Geronimo's, a club. It was packed. And we done our first set. And then I went out and I said, look, I just found out that my best friend is going to die. I said, if you're fans of mine, you'll stay here and continue drinking. I said, I've got to go. And then the club owner said, if you go, you're not getting paid. I'm going to sue you, blah, blah, blah. So I went out and I said, this is what's happening. The guy that owns this place has just said that if I leave, we're not going to get paid. And I said, if I asked you to do some mischief in this place, and instantly they all started pounding bottles on the table. And the guy says, I'm calling the cops. And I said, okay, everybody cool out. I said, but if you are friends of mine, I'm leaving, you should leave. And they all got up and left the guy's club. So I was devastated when Brian died. I mean, I got this great review the other day from a guy from the Georgia Strait. And the title was, Greg Godovitz once bonked me on the head with his guitar. And what happened was I was playing at the Body Shop in Vancouver. They had these 30-foot tables right in front of the stage, long tables spread out. There was about 10 of them in front. People would sit on both sides of them. Well, I used to take a wander when I played lead guitar and let that lizard loose. And I'm up on the table. And earlier that night, I got a bad message about Brian's health. And I was really upset. I tore up the dressing room. I was just overreacted, because I felt so helpless. He was dying. I was in Vancouver. So this guy at the end of the table is standing there giving me the finger and swearing at me. And I thought, you're exactly what I need right now. So I took off my guitar and just dropped it and ran along the table and dove off and started giving it to this guy. Bryan Adams was in the audience that night. I didn't know him at the time. Don't really know him now, but he was there, and he met Doug Inglis from got an audition for him once. And he said, I was in the crowd at that gig. He says, I'd never seen an entertainer beat up someone in his audience before. So, and I'm not a fighter, but I was so upset about Brian that I went, oh. So as it turns out, when I just dropped the guitar, it landed on this guy's head. And he became a writer for the Georgia Strait. So when he reviewed the first book, he told the story of me dropping the guitar on his head, and then reviewed this book and said, I remember, not so much about the music, except for the fact that before he leaped off the stage to beat someone up in his audience, he dropped his guitar on my head. I used to be fun.
We'll have more from Greg Godovitz in the next 3-4 days. Make sure you comment on our videos, subscribe to our channel, and share our videos, and buy a Rock History Canada t-shirt. Help support our channel. I'm John Beaudin. Take care of yourself.